I made this video because I wanted to put something out there to everyone. Basically, I've been, as you know, well, as you can see here, I've actually installed Windows 8 on my computer, and so far I'm actually using it as the primary operating system now. Essentially, when I came to actually install Windows 8, because I've used Windows 8 before and I realised how crap the start menu was, so I wanted to actually go and find, a replacement for my start menu. And to be honest with you, all the ones out there I didn't particularly like because they're all kind of hacky. But I got myself thinking about whether one of these programs is actually required or not. So what I did was I actually looked into some of the features that Windows 8.1 actually gives you, and all the changes that were in it. And after a long hard think and testing and experimenting with Windows 8.1 features, I've actually come to a conclusion that I don't know why the Classic Shell and Start8 are actually required. Maybe I should actually explain a little bit, because I should add a disclaimer to this saying that most likely if you're a heavy installer of software, so you install like hundreds of thousands of programs, something crazy like that, you might still find something like Classic Start Menu or Start8 useful. But then again, I should also mention that that's a really bad organization tactic to install all those programs, and I used to do it myself. I used to install hundreds of applications back in Windows XP, and the start menu back then used to be absolutely terrible to navigate. In the end, I couldn't find any programs that I actually wanted. In response, I ended up reorganizing myself and deleting 90% of my apps in order to consolidate. So even if you are one of those heavy industrial users of installing applications and somehow the old start menu gives you something that the new start menu doesn't, then you might want to think about your reorganization a little bit, because you might find that actually you need to consolidate a little bit. What I mean by what I just said, by the fact that the new start menu may not actually help heavy users, is take the start screen, the one that I've got right in front of me. First thing you'll notice is it shows all my applications. But you will notice one more thing. I've got headings here. Each one of these represents what would be in the old start menu, a folder. Now, these are not collapsible, which means that if you install a lot of applications and you've got a lot of folders, then you're going to start seeing a problem here. Basically, you're going to be scrolling for an eternity, and you're not going to find a thing in here. The only way you're going to find something is to actually search for it, like that, And essentially, you may not actually know the full name of what you're looking for. You may only know maybe the logo of what you're looking for or something. Sometimes that's the case with me. I don't know what it's actually called in the menu. I just know a certain word in it or something, and it's very similar to a lot of other programs, and essentially I need to actually browse the start menu to get to it. So if you're a heavy industrial user of the start menu, I will add the disclaimer that what I'm about to say and the moaning and whining that I'm about to do about Start8 and Classic Shell and other such programs might not apply to you. But I will turn around and say that you should probably think about why you've installed so many applications on your Windows, and whether you actually have control, even on the old classic theme in Windows XP, whether you actually have control over how you find applications on there. Because, one thing I had when I installed a lot of applications is that I needed to search for them better. So, ironically, I actually installed something called Launchy, which is what you can see here in front of you. And, that did a lot of my organization for me, ironically. I didn't actually use the start menu. So, yes, I've added that disclaimer saying that this might not apply to heavily installed individuals, but at the same time, the start menu might not apply to them at all anyway. Okay, so let's get on. One of the main problems that people tend to have in Windows 8 is the start menu. It's one of the things that they can't put up with. It's one of the things that breaks newbies. It's one of the things that causes mayhem, essentially. And I understand Windows 8, the original Windows 8 is terrible, utterly terrible. I wouldn't install it on a PC ever, and I did once, and I uninstalled it about 10 seconds later. But Windows 8.1 is amazing. And this is my start menu. This is what happens when I press start. I get shown this. And aside from not being able to collapse groups, this is essentially the all programs menu on your start menu. Now, I mean, from here as well, all I've got to do is type. There you go. And I'm able to search my entire computer. Everything like that. Yeah, it's great. There is one little thing I will mention right here that's not consistent on the desktop. As you can see right about here, there's an extra search option. If you click this, which would normally bring search results, but it only brings up stuff on my computer at the moment, there's a little inconsistency in how you exit this compared to with a lot of other stuff that I would like to see fixed. Okay, I'm going to press escape now. Nothing. Backspace. Nothing. Enter. Okay, that brings up the program, the task manager. So it brings up the first result, enter. There is no way to exit this without exiting. Oh, there is now. There is actually. Oh no, there isn't. Never mind. It was actually able to scroll through different iterations of the search that I had done, but there is no way of exiting this panel back to your start menu without, say, closing the whole start menu. There you go, done. So you've just lost everything now. You've lost all your searches and everything. Let's give this a try. Okay, it does actually work in there, but you've lost your search. So you can't go back to that. And it doesn't actually close that search application either. So you've got to do that manually. That's a huge inconsistency there in Windows 8. It's the only inconsistency in the start menu that I can see, really. But it's a pretty big one. That search application is meant to be transparent, and it's not. But aside from that, but you can see now that the search bar that you'd have in Windows 7, not in Windows XP, in Windows Vista, I believe, if I can remember right. Yes, I think in Windows Vista it's there. It's just type. All you have to do is just type. You know, there you go. Just type it out, and you've got it. You know. So, when people say, oh, how do I search on Windows 8? I don't quite understand where they're coming from when they try and do that. So that's already one of the major things that Classic Shell and Start8 advertise to you that they can do that Windows 8 can't do. But I've just shown to you that Windows 8.1 can do it. Another thing is, of course, giving you a decent all apps menu, which, you know, I mean, I think that's a pretty decent all apps menu, to be honest with you. I can see things pretty clearly there. I mean, it's not too bad. I do wish that these were collapsible, but apart from that, you know, I can see what's there. The only other thing I can think of that something like Classic Shell or Start8 would give you is, of course, the first screen to the start menu, which houses, if you look here, it houses my documents, pictures, music, basically shortcuts, predefined shortcuts, and then it houses pinned applications on this side when you click that back button. And of course it's got all applications, and then it's got its power button, and then it's got the search. I mean, if we go back up here, okay, so I haven't actually got the power button here, but there is a power button you can add. I haven't turned it on because this isn't my default screen, but that is there, so that's one thing that you can actually add to this screen of the start menu. The other thing, searching, done. It's right there. All you have to do is start typing. You don't even have to select a field, which is what you have to do on Windows 7. And then all your previous shortcuts, that's my computer, that's PC settings, you know, you just add them to this menu as you need them. Here's my pinned applications. So here you go, here's the entire start menu. The entire first screen of the start menu. All your predefined shortcuts to all your applications, to all your stuff and all that, all straight here on the screen. You don't need to do anything. And that button down there is your all applications button. Bam, done. I mean, it is a direct relation in Windows 8.1. And I will admit that this is new to Windows 8.1. It's not Windows 8 in general. It's something that Microsoft have done since a little rebellion among PC owners about Windows 8. And the fact that Windows 8 barely sold a penny. So, I mean, if you like what I've got, I will actually show you how easy it is to set it up. Wow, how hard it is, actually. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is set all your application screen to actually be your default screen. What you do is you go down to your taskbar, right click, properties, navigation, and then you basically just tick all these. So what I did, this one, you don't have to necessarily tick this one. I tick this one because I prefer the PowerShell to the command prompt. But this one takes you straight to a desktop, which is one of the functions that Start8 does, which it actually charges you for. Not only that, but it charges you for the hotspots as well, which you can do natively in Windows 8 right now. I'm going to show you that one in a minute. Show my desktop background on Start. That's a pretty cool one. So as you can see here, I actually can see my desktop background on Start, and I've got a consistent layout there now, which is kind of cool. I like that. Show Start on display I'm using when I press the Windows logo key. That is to do with multi-monitor. So instead of showing Start on your primary monitor, it will show Start on the monitor you're actually using. That's a very useful one for multi-monitors, but I haven't actually got a multi-monitor set up to show that with you. Show the apps you automatically want to go to Start. That's a given. There is one extra setting right below that you just saw. This one is really, really, really important to tick. Otherwise, the search box that you've actually got up here somewhere is utterly useless. It only searches this screen and nothing else. It won't search any other part of your computer. So you have to tick that one down there. You have to tick that if you want to be able to search everywhere. I can't stress that enough. Without that ticked, your search on your app screen will be useless. But with it ticked, you'll have basically that, which is, your all programs menu on your Start combined with your search. The only thing you'd be missing is your pinned apps and your shortcuts to certain parts of your computer. Now, that last bit, pinned apps and shortcuts to parts of the computer, is very opinionated. Some people want it, some people don't. I'm a Linux guy personally, so I'm used to going here, going computer. There you go. I've got my computer. If I want my documents, got my documents. There you go. See, documents, straight searchable from your Start menu, like that. You don't have to actually do anything. Everything is straight accessible straight from your Start menu. If you just search for it, it's accessible right there in your search. Windows 8.1 has a shortcut for most parts of your computer, and you don't need to have that initial screen, this bit here. That's just for show, basically. And if you know what you're doing, if you just type a couple of words, you can get pretty much every single one of these, including the jump list, through the search. You can get shut down as well. Check this out. See, there you go, very first option. So you can get this entire side straight in search if you just search for it. And that's my preference, is that I prefer to search for the thing. There you go. Personally, my preference for that is because I'm a Linux guy. I do a lot of web server administration and stuff. So I'm used to shells and consoles and typing in commands manually. That's my own personal preference. If it's not your personal preference, then you can add all of those shortcuts to this screen, which is your first Start screen. You can see I've added 2 here. And this will just link to parts of your computer. I mean, okay, fair enough. Maybe Microsoft should actually bundle Windows 8.1 with a default set of stuff here instead of just all the normal application crap they put here, such as the news and trending and that, which is utterly useless. I mean, why do they do that? They should actually put in meaningful stuff, like, I don't know, a couple of pinned applications, your settings and shortcuts and that, so that they could show you how the Start screen now works. because you haven't lost any functionality. You haven't lost anything. It's just the fact that you've been given a blank canvas from which to do whatever the hell you want. Literally anything. You know, it's limited by your imagination and of course by the tiles. I mean, you can't put in strange tiles into there because it is a grid view in there. But you get the idea. It's a blank slate and you can just do whatever the hell you want here. It's great. I love it. It's much better than the old start menu and everything, and it provides a much better experience for you. Now, one thing that a lot of people will probably moan about is the fact that this is actually a full screen menu. Yeah, okay, that is one thing I will admit. But that little Windows 7 menu that you used to see, this little thing here, is essentially out here and then up here. About that big. And that's tiny if you have quite a lot of applications installed. You have your head down to about this corner here, just constantly like, oh, where is it? You know, having to really hard read everything. And it's one of the reasons why I actually did install Launchy on Windows 7, this here, so that I could actually search my start menu without having to look in every individual folder and scroll down it. So you can see here that, I mean, the start menu already had organization problems even before Start8 even before the new start menu came along. And in reality, if you just plan yourself right, and if we get a modification that allows us to shrink these groups, then this menu could actually be better. And it is one of the reasons for this ability to have a clean slate like this. It is one of the reasons why I've turned around and gone, hang on, why do we need these applications? I mean, some people will say that Start8 gives you more options and stuff to do stuff, but I will now show you how to do everything that Start8 does without having to go through Start8 or pay the money for Start8. Okay, let's go start. Let's go down to our charms. Let's go settings, because actually I will first show to you. There you go. Top right hand corner, no charms. Top left hand corner, no apps. Top bottom corner, I do get my start button, but that's needed, that's necessary. I wouldn't really like an application that does that to me. But I do get charms if I go down to the bottom right. I don't know whether Start8 disables that or not. I assume it doesn't, because this isn't actually an option in the registry. It's actually coded into Windows, that one. The options that you've got in the registry are actually shown on here. Not there. It's actually shown. Oh, not even there either. Hang on, sorry. It's actually shown. If I go to the desktop version, this is actually a problem with what's its face? With Windows 8, is that its settings are kind of all over the place. But I mean, it's better than okay, so yeah, here it is actually. Sorry, it's corners and edges. It was right there in front of me the whole time. I don't know why I didn't see it. But anyway, so you can see here, this is all the options that basically Start8 gives you. Allow switching between recent apps, off. When I point to the top right corner, show the charms, off. So that's basically, you know, the only options you really need in order to do all the other sort of desktop-y things that Start8 does for you. And it's as simple as that. And I will mention right now that that of course it's not perfect. I mean, that start menu isn't perfect, as you can see. I mean, even from here, if I go there, I go PC settings. There you go. See, I can't get out of it or anything. The only way I can get out of it is Alt F4. But I mean, from what I've got from the start menu, that is definitely usable, and it definitely does replace the start menu you got in Windows 7 and that. The only thing that I could think it doesn't replace is for gamers and people who wish to try and exit full screen applications. I will say something about that right now. You shouldn't be using the start menu for that. You really shouldn't be. It's very bad to use the start menu for that. It's a single button on your keyboard, and you will find that most, if not all, gaming keyboards have the ability to actually activate a switch to turn off the start key. And I would strongly recommend that anyone in a game or a full screen app does actually do that, otherwise they're going to get constant interruption whenever they accidentally press the start key. Instead, what you should actually do is use a key combination to exit full screen apps. For example, Alt-Tab to switch between applications. Though it is noted that Alt-Tab does actually crash quite a few games, Skyrim being one. So I wouldn't recommend Alt-Tab at all times if you want to switch between your games or between a game and YouTube, etc. I mean, one other way is to actually bring up another full screen app, aka your lock screen, and instead in your lock screen you start the task manager like that. That allows you to get out of the full screen window and to show the start menu and all that. The problem with that is that it doesn't truly give you control of your computer again. The only way to truly get control of your computer again is to Alt-Tab. But, I mean, on the whole front of crashing, it's almost as bad as pressing start. Pressing start will crash some games as well. That's a good thing to note. So, really, the only difference between using start and Alt-Tab to get out of games is that Alt-Tab is a key combination, which is harder to press in a game than start. So yeah, you shouldn't be using start to get out of games and that. But it is one of the things you do lose here is that it won't minimize full screen application and show you your desktop. Instead, it will actually replace that full screen application with another full screen application. But as I said, you shouldn't be using start for that. You should be using Alt-Tab or your lock screen. Anyway, so yes, I mean, this all has arisen because essentially I see computer manufacturers distributing Windows 8 with Classic Shell. And after a lot of thinking, research, tweaking as you saw, I came up with the conclusion that I don't know why people actually install Classic Shell still. In fact, actually, I've been looking at this Classic Explorer as well, and I must admit, I'm kind of confused as to why that exists as well. I mean, you'll find that all it does is just basically post a bunch of shortcuts to a toolbar. That's essentially what it does, from what I can tell. I mean, I'm not really sure how useful that is, but anyway, I'm not gonna go into that. That's something else. Anyway, so yeah, that's my take. And if you have a really good reason why the start menu should still exist in the form that you see here, and why you have installed Classic Shell and Start8, and you're really adamant and fervent that you're still making, that it's still required, then let me know. I'm always up for knowing exactly why people use Classic Shell and want to revert back to the original start menu still. But anyway, yeah,